Once on the bottom, use natural references to help keep your bearings. Look at shadows and the sun angle, and feel which way the current's pushing you. Both of these provide reliable direction indications. Follow the bottom contour and look for distinctive bottom composition or landmarks such as coral, rock, and reef formations, which may change from one area to the next. For example, in the ocean, spur and groove coral reefs always lie perpendicular to shore. And in seas and lakes, sand ripples run parallel to shore. Aquatic life often lives in specific niches, giving you an idea of direction or where you are. For example, sea fans grow perpendicular to the prevailing current and will face the same direction. And listen for the intensity of sounds that can tell you you're close to a known location. When natural navigation isn't enough, you navigate most reliably by using your compass. Compass navigation relies on holding the compass properly. As you recall from your open water diver course, you need to hold the compass as level as possible, with the lubber line aligned with your body center line. Look over the compass so you can see where you're going, and keep the needle between the compass index marks as you swim. To set a heading on your compass, point the lubber line in your intended travel direction. Next, turn the bezel until the index marks are set over the compass needle. Swim along the lubber line, keeping the needle between the index marks. A reciprocal course takes you back on a reverse heading. Rotate the bezel so the index marks are 180 degrees from the original heading. Now turn so the compass needle rests within the marks, which should put you facing where you came from. You can use your compass and distance estimation to follow a square, rectangle, or triangle pattern. For a square or rectangle, swim the desired distance along one side, then turn the bezel 90 degrees for the next side. Turn 90 degrees the same direction for 3 turns until you return to your start point. Do the same to navigate a triangle, but turn the bezel 120 degrees for 2 turns. You'll use squares and triangles most often for general navigation, but triangles come in handy navigating small areas. A few hints make compass navigation more effective. First, trust your compass, even if you feel like it's pointing the wrong way. Use natural navigation along with your compass, and practice compass use on land periodically. Allow for the effects of currents or waves, and be prepared to navigate around obstacles you can't swim over. If you're navigating in mid-water, it's easiest if one buddy navigates and the other monitors depth. If you're navigating over a long distance, aim slightly to the right or left, so if you miss your destination, you know the direction to search in. As mentioned, your navigation skills will come into play during your night adventure dive. Although it's dark, navigation at night differs little from during the day. You just have to use your dive light. Since you usually night dive at a familiar spot, you often want to relocate a particular site for a night dive. Night diving from a boat makes this easy because you usually anchor right on the site. In fact, many divers prefer night diving from a boat because it simplifies entries and exits, provides a comfortable way to get to and from the site, and because it's a good platform for gearing up before the dive and warming up after the dive. But if you're night diving from shore, you may have to swim to the dive site on the surface. Use your compass to follow the heading to the spot, and use your dive light to look at the bottom, surface objects that provide a bearing, and to watch for surface hazards such as boats or surf. Lights from buildings, stationary moored boats, or from other non-moving sources can help too. Look back for navigation clues to where you came before descending to guide you back to the exit. Look for distinct lights and their relation to each other and your exit point. Underwater, use natural navigation and compass navigation just as you would during the day, but don't try to go as far. It's much easier to explore a short distance from a known point, return, and then explore in a new direction. After the dive, exiting is usually just a matter of swimming back to shore, though you should use your light to watch for hazards on the surface, just like on the way out. You may find leaving some distinct, flashing lights ashore makes finding your exit point easier. Be sure, however, that your lights won't be confused with local navigation signals. If you have to swim back through a narrow area, such as a channel through a reef, it may help to leave 2 lights aligned with your exit. When returning, swim until they're aligned, and then swim shoreward. Now let's look at other techniques for night diving. Night diving is a great way to get a new look at a familiar dive site, to observe nocturnal aquatic life, and enjoy the brilliant colors of the underwater world. You'll practice these under your instructor's guidance during the night adventure dive. To reduce stress and to simplify navigation, it's best to plan night dives at a site you know well. When possible, arrive before dark so you can set up your equipment in the light and evaluate conditions. You'll want to avoid conditions like heavy surf, strong current, poor visibility, overhead environments, and heavy surge when night diving. It's recommended that you don't skip meals before night diving, so you'll have plenty of energy for the dive after being active all day. And you may find it more comfortable and reassuring to dive with a familiar buddy. Try to have someone who will remain ashore or on the boat to tend lights and lend a hand when getting in and out of the water. When you're ready to dive, go through your pre-dive safety check and make sure that your primary and backup lights work. Next, use your light to make sure the entry area is clear. Enter the water with your light on so that if you accidentally lose it, you can find it easily. When you reach the dive site, as mentioned earlier, it's easiest if you descend along a reference line. Descend slowly and check your gauges frequently. Once on the bottom, stay close to your buddy as you explore. Maintain neutral buoyancy and avoid damaging any sensitive aquatic life. Make a habit of looking with your light before touching anything. Be careful not to shine your light in your buddy's eyes. Use your light to illuminate your own hand signals away from your buddy's eyes. How you wear your light affects how you see, and you need to be aware of buddy courtesy. Mounting lights on your mask, your hood, or a helmet frees your hands, for example, but it's harder to avoid shining them in your buddy's eyes when you look at him. You can also use your light to signal your buddy. This means, okay. And waving your light back and forth means emergency, help, or attention. At the surface, this means okay. At the end of the dive, return to the reference line to make your ascent easier. Ascend the line no faster than 18 meters, 60 feet per minute, or as required by your computer. Make a safety stop and look up with your light as you near the surface so you don't bump into anything overhead. If you have to ascend away from the reference line, use your depth gauge or computer to track your ascent rate. During your safety stop, look and listen for boats before ascending to the surface. Deep diving techniques you practice under your instructor's supervision during the deep adventure dive. Apply what you've already learned to the deep water environment. In recreational dive training, a deep dive is considered any dive below 18 meters, 60 feet, but no deeper than 40 meters, 130 feet. Although 40 meters, 130 feet is the maximum, you'll probably find that an optimal depth limit of 30 meters, 100 feet provides more dive time, more light, and fewer problems from nitrogen narcosis or the risk of decompression sickness. So for the deep adventure dive, you and your instructor will plan the dive for 18 meters, 60 feet, to 30 meters, 100 feet. And you need to personalize your depth limit based on your experience, your buddy's experience, environmental conditions, any previous dives and the surface interval, and your distance from emergency help if it were needed. Any of these may call for an even shallower maximum depth. As you've already learned, it's easiest to make deep descents and ascents along a line or following a sloping bottom or wall. This helps you control your rate so you can equalize when descending and not exceed 18 meters.